Thank you. You may be seated. Honorable members, I wish to announce that the vacancy which occurred in the National Assembly due to the passing of the Mr. Z.J. Peter has been filled with effect from the 14th August 2020 by the nomination of Ms. P.T. Mpushe. The honorable member has made a subscribed the oath with Deputy Speaker through the virtual platform. I welcome the honorable member. The unfortunate part is that she's not logged in yet, but once we get the message that she has logged in, we will allow her to show her face. The only item on today's order paper is questions addressed to the ministers in Cluster 1, which is peace and security. There are 4 supplementary questions on each question. Parties have given an indication of which question their members wish to pose as a supplementary question. Adequate notice was given to parties for this purpose. This was done to facilitate participation of members who are connecting to the sitting through the virtual platform. The members who will pose supplementary questions will be recognized by the presiding officer. In allocating opportunities for supplementary questions, the principle of fairness, among others, has been applied. A member who is supposed to ask a supplementary question through the virtual platform, if a member who is supposed to ask a supplementary question through virtual platform is unable to do so due to technological difficulties, the party whip on duty will be allowed to ask the question on behalf of their member. When all supplementary questions have been answered by the executive, we will proceed to the next question on the question paper. The first question, honorable members, has been asked by Honorable V.C. Klama to the Minister of Defense and Military Veterans. I have been informed that the Minister will be answering questions through the virtual platform. May I now invite...
Honorable Chair?
Yes?
It's Ngwezi on the virtual platform.
Yes, Honorable.
I'm sorry to disturb you. I'm sorry to disturb you, Honorable Chair.
Yes.
I wanted to request or report that the questions that were going to be taken by the Honorable Inkosi Cebekulu will be taken by myself. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the information. No problem. The Honorable Bilankulu J, I think we need to assist you. Your name is always coming up when we are in session. Please ensure that you mute your microphone. May I now invite the Minister of Defense and Military Veterans, Umamu Ngakula, to respond to question 281 as asked by the Honorable Kaba. The Honorable Minister. Is the minister connected? How am I assisted on this one? Okay. As you are checking, can I also get a list of the supplementary questions? It's not here? Huh? It's in the guide. Okay. We're still trying to locate the Honorable Minister Ngakula. I don't have that. I can't find it. Okay, we will come back to the Honorable Minister Ngakula. Is the Minister of Police on the platform? Can we continue to you?
Honorable Chair,
Yes, Honorable Mutle.
the Minister is on the waiting, whatever you call it on the platform. Can the administrators allow the Minister in of the Defense? Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that info. But in the meantime, can I check if the Minister of Police is there? Babu Kele ukhona? Ubabu Kele
Ndilapha.
Okay, Baba. The question that you're going to respond to, the Honorable Minister Kele, is question number 266, asked by the Honorable Sheikh Imam.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Thank you, Honorable Members. Good afternoon. The reply would go as such. The above-mentioned matter forms part of a bigger investigation project. The Director of Public Prosecution instructed that the investigation be done holistically and recommended that an application for the independent forensic firm be submitted in order to ascertain the extent of the alleged fraud and corruption at the University of KwaZulu-Natal. The date of the arrest cannot be indicated at this stage, as investigations are ongoing, and once finalized, the docket will be submitted to the DPP for decision. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Minister. The Honorable Sheikh Imam.
Thank you, House Chair, and thank you, Minister, for your response. Minister, this matter was discussed with General Libya previously as well. And there's two aspects to this. One is the investigation and corruption that took place at the University of KwaZulu-Natal. And separately, there is the issue of this particular suspect in this matter, Rishal Dayanan, who posed as a doctor, faked his qualifications, and was accepted by the Health Professional Council, who gave a report. The UKZN investigation also gave a report. And in my last discussion with General Libya, he gave the assurance that indeed matters should be treated separately and differently, okay, and that the matter was now gone to the National Prosecuting Authority to be dealt with. And since then, we've had nothing about this, Honourable Minister. Can you please confirm what do you believe is the problem in terms of that? Because what has happened now, particularly with Rishal Dayanan, had nothing to do with the separate incident that took place in the University of KwaZulu-Natal, which involved a whole lot of students that had perhaps got gained entry to the university itself. So it's two completely different. This man faked his qualification to qualify or to prove that he was a doctor. He was accepted, he practiced, He put hundreds of people's lives at risk, collected over 700,000 in pay. And that's the matter I'm asking to be dealt with, Minister.
The Honorable the Minister.
Well, Chairperson, that is already included in the response. The investigations, as the Honourable Member says, continued, but the Director of Public Prosecution instructed that the investigation be done holistically. Every kind of investigation must be made. That will include the forensics and then ascertain the extent of alleged fraud and corruption, and it will be given to the DPP for decision. So yes, they sound like the separate matters, but the instruction from the DPP was that it must be put in a holistical and investigated in that way. Thanks.
Thank you very much. The next follow-up question. What did I do here? Will be asked by the... Oh, it's a new question. It's another, by the way, I jumped. Thank you. No, I'm fine now. The Honorable Whitfield.
Thank you, House Chair. This question deals with the incredibly important issue of fake qualifications, and it highlights the importance of ensuring that our own public servants and police officers in the South African Police Service are suitably qualified. In 2012, a Judicial Board of Inquiry found that the Minister was unfit to hold the position of National Police Commissioner and was discharged. One might even say dishonorably discharged. In 2018, the National Police Commissioner instructed the South African Police Service to desist from referring to the Minister as Minister General. And it is alleged that he suggested that it may even be illegal to refer to the Minister as General. In light of the question raised by the Honourable Member regarding fake qualifications, can the Minister explain how he is qualified to be a General? And if he is not, would he then consider himself to be a fake General?
Honourable Minister.
Well, the Honourable Member surely is following the matters. He knows that that dismissal was overturned and dismissed by the Court of Law, the judge sitting in the Court of Law. Dismissed the finding of those commission of the National Commission not fit for the office. So if that member, Honourable Member, really respects the law, he would know that the finding or the decision of the judge sitting in the Court of Law really dismissed that. The second one, I'm sure again you would understand that all generals, they don't lose their title of being generals. The only thing that you say you do indicate that you are a retired general. We can talk about that just to educate him a little bit about those matters, but as it stands so. Thank you.
Thank you, the Honourable the Minister. The Honourable Majosi.
Thank you, Honourable House Chair. Honourable Minister, in terms of the annual crime statistics 2019-2020, it is noted with concern that educational institutions are becoming hotbeds for sexual violence. 380 cases of rape were reported at either schools, universities, colleges, and daycare facilities. What actions will be specifically be taken to address this very worrying increase? Thank you.
Thank you. The Honourable the Minister.
Well, the question has very little to do with the follow-up, but definitely the question will be answered. That's true. It is a worrying trend that the education institutions have become some hotbeds for crime, including matter, by the way, rape, assault, GPH. As for that, we have developed as the South African Police the strategy of the safe campuses. We have launched it at the TUT, I think early last year or late the year before, but we are expanding it to work with the institution. But also the same minister has met the heads and of the universities, almost all universities. We met here in Johannesburg after the matter of Vuyani and Western Cape to work with the principals of the universities. We will be meeting also the principals of the TVET colleges. So we are working together to try to work on that matter. It's a matter that we are trying to handle with care, and it's a matter that ourselves we are worried about, and it's a matter that we hope will put an end. Our kids must be safe when they're in the institution of learning. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister. The Honorable Mission. Honorable Mission, you are...
Thank you. Thank you, House Chairperson. Thank you, Minister, for your reply. Under normal circumstances, the Hawks, when they have the assurance that the case before them is tight enough, and they announce that imminent arrest is about to happen, and then it does not happen, can the Minister inform us, while I understood his response about the investigation taking place, the question is, when the Hawks stop proceedings after they have promised, would it be that there is any form of interference from a senior politician, or they have changed their mind, or what would be the reason for them to stop if there was no interference from a senior? Thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mfundisi. Most of the time, as the DPCI investigate, they try to go thorough as they can. The other way of thoroughness is that they work with the prosecution so that you have a prosecution-directed investigation, so that by the time we go to court, we are more tight and we are more solid. It could happen that as they look at the case, they find that they are ready. As they work with their colleagues in the prosecution, they say, you go and do this and do this and do this, and that would delay. Well, another thing, I don't know why they would announce that they're about to arrest. Theirs is to arrest, not to announce the arrest. If that happens, I hope that will be checked and it will have to come to an end. But they would be now and again working with their counterparts in prosecution, discover that there are still some loopholes, and then they'll work on those loopholes. That might delay the actual arrest of that particular individual. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
On a point of order, Chair.
Yes.
On a point of order, Chair.
Yes, Honorable Ntangwini.
Thank you very much, Chair. Chair, with all due respect, and I didn't want to stop the Minister, Tsepo Mhlongo.
Hey, what is he doing?
He was busy with in tops. Can we please ensure that this Minister, comrades, get out of the liquor store and come to the work of Parliament? Because the guy was in tops as we speak. So such things, can IT please ensure that these videos make it to your office, Chair, because it is ridiculous that some of us make times and others are just in tops and drinking wines. It's improper. It's ridiculous. We can't be reduced like this. Thank you very much.
It's Tsepo Mhlongo of the Democratic Alliance, Chair. It's Tsepo Mhlongo of the Democratic Alliance.
Order, honorable members. Oh. Order, honorable members. Yes, Honorable Swart,
Thank you, House Chair. I want to support the previous speaker because it was during our leader's response when there was a video of someone, and now it appears that it was in Top's liquor store, and we object strongest terms because not only did it interrupt our member, but obviously that member should be sitting at home and be monitoring as Parliament is sitting, and this impacts on the decorum of the House as well. Thank you.
Honourable members.
Yeah, you always switch us off.
House Chair, just a point of order, Chairperson. A point of order, please. Several members are bringing unsubstantiated allegations against a member of this House. And as you know, the way to do that is through a motion. And I would ask that you rule accordingly. Thank you, Chairperson.
Point of order, Chair. Point of order.
Honourable Zulu. Honourable Zulu.
Yes, Chairperson. The member who's just spoken now is the one who is out of order because all of us saw that video. And the honourable member of the IFP is correct in raising a concern about somebody who's walking at Tops while the person is connected to Parliament. So there's no substantial emotion that needs to be brought to the House when we all saw the video of that member walking at a liquor store. We all saw it.
Thank you, ma'am.
I also had my hand up because I wanted to raise the same concern.
Thank
On
you.
a point of order, I didn't see that.
Honourable Mackenzie, please. I did not allow you to speak. May I please rule on this matter? We will go back to the video and identify what is happening, and that will be reported to the Office of the Speaker for process. Thank you very much. We now go back, and I'm informed that the Honourable Minister Ngagula is now on the platform, and we apologize for you waiting outside, Honourable Minister. The question that you have to respond to is question 281, as asked by the Honourable Kaba. The Honourable Minister.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, Honourable Member, and thank you, Honourable Members, for your patience. I'm really sorry, Madam Chair. I was behind the screen here, and seemingly I had a problem with the iPad. I'm using a cell phone right now. My sincere apologies to the House. Chairperson, the question is 281 from Honourable Klaba. Just to say, yes, the suppliers involved in the concealed best before date have been identified. The companies are not yet blacklisted, as the legal process must be first finalized. However, the department issued the companies involved with a warning letter, and no awards invitations for the supply of patrol rations have been made to this company since the incident. The suppliers are currently barred from doing business with the Department of Defense pending the outcome of the criminal investigation. The matter is under investigation, Chairperson. Thank you.
Yes, before we continue, can you please ask the people who are assisting you in the office not to be on camera, please?
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honourable Kaba.
Thank you very much, Madam House Chair. And thank you very much for the reply, Minister. I must say that we were all alarmed by these facts arising from the reply. How much was paid to the supplier or suppliers involved in the alleged fraudulent activity referred to in the reply? Thank you very much. Thanks.
The Honourable Minister. The Honorable the Minister.
Yes, thank you very much, Chair. I don't know what's happening here today. Thank you very much, really. My apologies. Honorable Kaba, the goods are to the value of 28 million rands, which was paid for to the company. Besides the investigation which is being conducted, I have directed the Chief of the South African National Defence Force to make sure that we get our money back. In fact, I had directed that the banks, the bank accounts of the company involved should be frozen. And I was informed that that is a matter which can only be handled by law enforcement agencies, because I was saying the department should do it. So I'm assuming that as they are investigating this matter, that too will be done. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. The second follow-up question will come from the Honorable Mare.
Thank you very much, Chair, for the opportunity. Minister, has the Chief of Logistics and his procurement processes been investigated, especially with regards to inflated prices of not only rations, but other essential COVID-19 related equipment as well?
On a point of order.
Honorable
Chair, can I?
Honorable Kola, yes?
Honorable Ngola.
No, sorry, man.
Chair, since the start of this hybrid form of an assembly, we have been discussing what is an admissible background. The honorable member is terrorizing us with a fighting machine at his back while speaking, addressing the people. Can he please adhere to the backgrounds admissible to this House? Thank you.
Thank you very much for that, Honorable Mare.
Chairperson.
Honorable Mare.
Yes, sir. Yes, madam.
Looking at that background that you have, I'm also feeling not comfortable. Please, we just ask you to have another background. Honorable members, there is a lot of noise. I don't know where it comes from, or is it the picture has what, is it living?
No, it's not. Chairperson, if I can proceed, I've changed it. But just remember, that's an aircraft of the South African Air Force, and this is a question to the Minister of Defence. So it's very much, I think, proper in this regard.
Thank you for changing it. Thank you very much.
I'm a proud member. I'm a proud member of the committee.
Honorable Mare, please.
On a point of order, Chair.
Please.
Can I just stick to what he's about to say? No.
Yes, member. Yes, ma'am.
On a point of order, Chair. Chair, we agreed on the background. That honorable member cannot come and justify how patriotic he is or not. He must just change and keep quiet and adhere to the procedure of this House. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Whip. I think the ruling has already been done, and thank you for changing that. And let me just say it to all the members. The background of Parliament and everywhere has been given, but if you are in another environment, let it not show pictures or anything. We allow it to happen, but those pictures, please make sure that you don't use them in your background.
Thank you, Chair. If I can put my question.
Please be quiet. We are done.
Minister,
we are done. We are done with you. I'm just waiting for the minister. Oh, he has not asked. Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
I've not asked my question.
Ask it, Honorable Mare.
Okay. Thank you, Chairperson. Minister, has the Chief of Logistics and his procurement processes been investigated, especially with regards to inflated prices of not only rations, but other essential COVID-19 related equipment as well? If so, why were surgical masks procured from China not properly specified in terms of the World Health Organization standards, with prices allegedly 2 to 3 times higher than what were available elsewhere? And even worse, how could it have happened that many of these masks were reported after receipt as overpaid, cheap, non-medical and non-surgical masks? What are you going to do about the various apparent and shameless abuses, mismanagement and wasteful expenses? I thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable...
Thank you very much. Thank you, Madam Speaker. And thank you, Honorable Murray. Firstly, just to say that the matter of the PPEs, whether there were inflation of the prices and where they were procured, etc., is a matter that is being dealt with by the Fusion Center, which consists of several law enforcement agencies. So I would rather not answer that question and wait for the right time and wait for the people who you say inflated the prices, who are alleged to have inflated the prices, to then answer that question. But just to say that on this particular matter of the food supplies, the matter is being investigated by the military police. And of course, because if the company is a company of civilians, obviously the matter, it's a clear criminal case. If it affects also our people, it will also be a matter of referring the case to the South African Police Service. But I know that for at least 2 weeks ago, there was still an investigation being conducted by the military police.
Thank you, the Honorable Minister. The Honorable Mafanya will ask the next follow-up question.
Thank you very much, Chair. The case of fraudulent supply of expired food packs to the military is an indication of just how disintegrated the system of checks and balances required to maintain order in the military has become. The 2014 Defense Review noted this degeneration in the military too, and stated that the army was too poorly equipped and funded to execute the wide spectrum of tasks to the desired level. Minister, what have you done to arrest the general decline in the quality of our military and to strengthen public trust in the SANDF? Thank you.
Thank you. May I just remind that the second...
Thank you very much.
Continue, ma.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, and thank you, Honorable Member. But may I just indicate to the Honorable Member that I am prepared and ready to answer that question, but that question really is not a follow-up to the question at hand. Thank you very much, Honorable Member.
Honorable members, I think we know the rules of the follow-up questions that you have to ask. There shouldn't be a new question. And then secondly, a supplementary question, it says, must arise directly from the original question and the reply given thereto, and may not be constitute a new question. I just want to say to those who will be responding to questions that you will make a choice to answer or not. And secondly, a supplementary question may not consist of more than one question. That is just a reminder. And the reply to the question, to the supplementary question, will be limited to 2 minutes. We continue from here and go to the Honorable Ngwezi, who's replacing the Honorable Cebekulu.
Ngiyathokoza sihlalo ohloniphekile. Nhlonishwa ngqongqoshe, ngiyathokoza ngezimpendulo ozinikezayo. Kodwa ke ngicela ukubuza ukuthi zikhona yini inhlelo esezenziwe since kwenzeka lomkhonyovu ongaka eminyangweni wakho oholayo, inhlelo ezizosiza ukuthi ngokuzayo izinto ezifana nalezi zingenzeki, and obani manje asebezolekelela ukusupplya amajoni ethu noma amasosha ethu ombutho wamasosha ukuthi balekelele ngokusupplya ukudla, futhi ngakube have they been properly vetted labo bantu? Ngiyathokoza.
Honorable Minister.
Ngiyabonga kakhulu Mhlonishwa. Mhlonishwa, okokuqala nje sikwi-process yoku-advertise njengoba usuwazi mhlawumbe mawube ukwikomiti lelo lethu loku-advertisela umuntu ozaba u-DDG we-supply chain. But okwesibili kulomba wokuthi senzani ngalokho. Seloko kwathi gqiloko. Seloko saqala konke ukufuna izinto ezizosilekelela ukulwa i-COVID. Nganika umthetho ku-military command nakuyo i-secretariat ye-defense ukuthi njengoba sibhizi nje siphethe i-procurement processes, njengoba sikhupha nje ama-adverts yonke lento, siprocessa zonke ezikhampani ezithi zibuye zi-applya yonke into esiyenzayo ukuqalela ekukhipheni i-advert leyo zizinto ezifanele ukubana zimonitorwe very closely by internal audit yethu. So as a result, konke okwenziwayo right now kwi-Defence Force okurelated to umsebenzi we-COVID, and this is how we are going to do things going forward, by the way, that yonke into eyenzekayo ekufanele abantu bathendarishe kuyo i-internal audit yethu iyoba khona ukuze ibone ukuthi kulandelwa umthetho to the last, ukuze futhi kubonakale ukuthi ama-prices awenyuke. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. We now move on to question number 292, asked by the Honorable Danji to the Minister of Home Affairs. The Honorable Minister. I'm not sure where this sound comes from, but let us be assisted. Is the Minister of Home Affairs on platform?
Yes, Honorable Chairperson.
Thank you.
I'm here.
Thank you. The Honorable Minister, the question you have to respond to is question 292, asked by the Honorable Janji. You may proceed, Minister.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Chairperson. The department did not budget for COVID-19 pandemic in the 2019-2020 financial year, but in respect of the present financial year, 2020-2021, the department reprioritized funds within its baseline to create a COVID-19 fund, which was put at 22 million on the 7th of April, 22 million rand. On the 20th of May, it was increased by a further 17 million. So the total available up to this far to fight COVID-19 in the Department of Home Affairs was 39 million. And we will keep on reprioritizing if the situation demands that. Now, when the national state of disaster was declared, the Treasury determined emergency procurement processes, and the following national Treasury instructions were issued. They issued number 8, instruction number 8 of 2019-2020 on the 19th of March. Number 3, on the 5th of April, and then another one on the 28th of April, and the last one on the 6th of May, measures in response to COVID-19.
Honorable
Chairperson.
Tozama, before the minister continues, I'll check your minutes, Minister. Honorable Tozama, please, mute your gadget. Thank you. I'm sorry for that, Honorable Minister. You still have your minutes to respond.
Yes, thank you, Chair. With these Treasury instructions, we follow them to the latter, and the department in this regard use petty cash, transversal contracts, and requests for quotations. The department never issued any bids or any traditional tender in the way that tenders are issued. And we believe the process we followed was fair, transparent, and competitive. There was a total of 441 transactions, out of which 218 were petty cash, amounting to 200,410 rand, or 0.9% or close to 1% of the total expenditure. Because our total expenditure up to now is 20,243,898 rand and 15 cents at the last calculation, which was the 15th of April. The department has produced a spreadsheet on COVID-related transactions where we've put any money that has been spent, how much, to which company, what did we buy, etc. We gave that spreadsheet to the Portfolio Committee on Home Affairs on the 7th of August. We gave them again a current spreadsheet yesterday. We'll keep on adding more transactions as they become available, and we'll make this available to the Portfolio Committee or to Parliament. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. The Honorable Tanchi.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister, for that very concrete and straightforward answer on record. It's clear that Home Affairs at this stage is on course. Now, I want to know this. Has, up to so far, having spent this 20 million, is there any allegations of impropriety by the department that you have picked up? If yes, can you elaborate on that? If not, what would you do if such allegations surfaces as a minister?
Thank you. The Honorable the Minister.
Well, Chairperson, up to so far, we followed closely the Treasury instruction that was issued on the 28th of April 2020, instruction number 5 of 2020-2021, about maximum prices which were set for identified PPE items. In other words, there was a price range for a mask, for a cloth mask, for other items that are used, gloves and sanitizers. And we instructed our officials that none of them is to go outside that brand, that price range. And up to so far, we haven't seen anybody who went out of the price range. Even those who use petty cash in our offices, we told them if they use petty cash to go to the nearest supermarket to buy PPEs like sanitizers, etc., if they have exceeded the cash, when they bring the invoice, then we tell them they'll have to pay the amount themselves. So up to so far, we haven't picked up, but if it gets picked up, and we hope members of the Portfolio Committee, because they've got the spreadsheet, which shows what was purchased and for how much, if they pick up anything, let them report it to us, it will be investigated. But Chairperson, we have also presented the spreadsheet to the Interministerial Committee led by Minister Lamola, where they are going to check the companies that we have used, and if they find any impropriety, we'll send it to the law enforcement agencies like SIU and the Hawks to investigate. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister. The next follow-up question will be asked by Honorable Kanyile.
Thank you, House Chair. Thank you, House Chair. Honorable Minister, on the 28th of April 2020, the Department of Home Affairs committed 1 million rands for PPE to each open port of entry. Yet this expenditure has not been reported in any PPE expenditure report. What is the total spent on PPEs by Department of Home Affairs at ports of entry? And why has this PPE expenditure not been reported? Thank you.
Honorable Minister.
Honorable Member, when we presented a progress report on PPEs, which we did yesterday to the Portfolio Committee, this question was raised because we did not show you expenditure for each and every area, like the ports of entry. We said we'll include them. All we did was to show expenditure per province and per head office, and showed you that the total expenditure is 20,243,898. What we'll do is to then go back and look per each of the ports of entry that were open. I think you remember it was 35 of them. Then we'll be able to present it to Parliament. At the moment, I really don't have the figures here.
Thank you, Minister. Mhlonishwa Tito, ithuba ngelakho.
Thanks, House Chair. Thanks also to the Minister. Over the above amount, the department spent on ensuring that it is able to deal with the effect of the COVID-19. Did the department benefit from any donations of PPEs and other COVID combating equipment? If so, who provided the donations and what rand value were these donations? Thanks, Chair.
Thank you. Mhlonishwa.
Honorable Chairperson, I am not aware of any donation given to the Department of Home Affairs. If they did, maybe I was not informed, but I'm not aware of any. The PPEs which we bought and the spreadsheet that we presented to the value of the 20 million rand which we have spent up to so far, as I said, comes from our budget of 39 million rand. If there was any donation, I am not aware of it. I've not been informed. I'll go and find out, Honorable Member.
Stokos Mhlonishwa. Mhlonishwa van der Merwe, the last
Thank you very much.
question. Yes.
Thank you very much, Honourable House Chairperson. Honourable Minister, during our COVID-19 lockdown period, while South Africans were confined to their homes and borders remained closed, evidence emerged that illegal migrants were crossing our borders unabated in breach of our state of disaster regulations and our immigration laws by simply cutting through our national embarrassment, also known as the border fence, that was built by Minister De Lille and the Department of Public Works. With these reports emerging, what additional measures, if any, did your department undertake to detect, apprehend, and deport illegal migrants at our compromised borders? Please can you list your interventions and successes in this regard? And I'm asking this specifically, Honourable Minister, because you know that your department is losing the fight against illegal migration, and hence we've seen the violent trucking and other protests we've seen of late. Thank you, Honourable House Chairperson.
Thank you. Mhlompheri Tona.
Chairperson, I thought the initial question I was asking was about amount set aside for PPEs to fight the pandemic, and whether there was any competitive bidding, transparent, etc. This question asked by the honourable member about our porous borders, I regard it as a totally new question, Chairperson, and I need to go to prepare thoroughly for it.
Thank you very much. I reminded members about Rule 142, number 6. 142, number 6 explains exactly how
I'm asking about lockdown and COVID-19 measures. Surely we should have put in place some additional measures when we realized that the border was compromised during this period, when we were not allowed to travel. It's closed.
I didn't ask for an explanation from you. You should have asked to do that. But
sorry, Chairperson.
okay.
Apologies.
So I think you have been responded to, and you can take the question further with the minister. I think he won't have a problem of responding to you. Maybe make it a written one, but according to the rule number 142, number 6, that is the response you got from the minister. We now move to question number 311, asked to the Minister of Police by the Honorable Whitfiel. Honorable Minister. Honorable Minister of Police, Honorable Kele. 311.
Thanks. I was trying to unmute. Thanks. A and B, the recently established murder and robbery unit will respond to cases of murder and robbery in rural areas. The Directorate for Priority Crime Investigations, DPCI, will address serious firearms and drug-related crimes. The murder and robbery unit and the stock theft unit will play a critical role with regard to the farmer tax and the theft of stock. The mandate of the murder and robbery unit is to respond to all identified serial murders, murder and attempted murder committed against officials who are employed in the criminal justice system while in the execution of their duties, including the murder of the South African Police Service members, political murders and attempted murder, murder of elderly persons as defined by the Older Persons Act 2006, Act 13 of 2006, attacks on farms and small holdings, payroll/pay points robberies, aggravated robberies and logistical warehouses, mall shopping center robberies, aggravated robberies and filling stations, automated teller machines, ATMs, bombings, robbery of firearms, and not investigated by DPCI. Thank you very much, Chairman. That's my answer.
Thank you. The Honorable Whitfield.
Thank you, Chair. From the Minister's response, it is now crystal clear that there is no specialized rural safety unit. The SAPS, however, in the past has said that there would be a focus on crimes which target the economy. During the previous quarter, agriculture outstripped other sectors in the economy in terms of growth. The agricultural sector is the backbone of our rural communities and our economy, and given that the sector is responsible for almost 1 million jobs, it is quite obviously a key sector in our economy. Prioritizing rural safety is therefore critical to protect lives, livelihoods, and the economy at large. While we welcome the deployment of these broad-ranging specialized units, will the Minister now commit to prioritizing farm attacks or classifying farm attacks as a national priority crime? And if not, then what is the rationale behind the National Police Commissioner's comments about rural safety units? Thank you.
Honorable Minister.
Well, Chairperson, I read the list that is prioritized by the formed and directed investigations by the DPCI and the murder and robbery, the special stock unit. And as I read the list, one of the points is that they'll be responsible and focus their investigations on attacks on farms and smallholding. I don't know what is the interpretation of the member on that one, but it's a part of the priority, and that point is there, and we're definitely looking at that point. But beyond that, there is a strategy. We are working with the rural communities, including farms. It was last year when this minister, with the organized farming community, we launched our approaches. We launched the support of the farm communities, including farmers, supporting them with equipment, buying cars and all that. We launched it in Limpopo, and we are rolling out that launch with other places. So we're satisfied that our working together is fine and it will bear fruit. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you. Mhlonishwa Shembeni, ithuba ngelakho. Honorable Shembeni, you have to ask the second follow-up question.
Chairperson?
Yes, Honorable Kalipi.
The Shembeni's question will be taken by Mamo Renelwe because Shembeni is on sick leave, Chair.
No problem. Mama Shabela.
Thank you very much, House Chair. Honorable Minister, the country is ridden with crime all round. Townships are monuments of death as a result of criminal activity in this country. The police must be able to deal with crime in all its manifestations. In light of this reality, why is the crime committed on farms receiving more attention than the murder of Black people in townships every day? Is it perhaps possible that the prominence of this kind of crime in the media is as a result of the fact that most of these farmers are white and therefore deserve more rights than Blacks in the imagination of the media and right-wing political parties? Thank you, House Chairperson.
Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Chair. Thank you, Mama Shabela. Under this government, we shall forever look after the lives of the people of the Republic of South Africa. If there is media and those organizations that they find it proper to make noise and make sure that they push up other matters than others, is their business. But for your information, as the South African Police Service, we make sure that all people that are murdered, whether they are males, they are women, Black or white, we put all our efforts to respond as we're working on the South Africans and to protect all South Africans. We shall not be thrown on the temptations where we'll ever believe that there is a better life than any other lives in the Republic of South Africa. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The Honorable Groenewald, you ask the next question.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. Chair, my question to the Honourable Minister is that in terms of Pillar 3 of the Rural Strategy Plan of the South African Police Services to improve policing infrastructure in rural and rural-urban police stations, the goal is to ensure good policing services and victim empowerment is available in these areas, and it was part of the deliverable to investigate the revival of specialized rural units. Now, the deliverable is to appoint rural safety officers at rural and urban rural police stations, and the target date is the 31st of August 2020. It is in about less than 2 weeks. My follow-up question to the Honourable Minister is, how far is the process in the appointing of these rural safety officers at rural and urban rural police stations to ensure that we have investigative and specialized rural units? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. All those who are asking a second supplementary question to the last one, you have only 1 minute. Unlike the one who poses the question that gets 2 minutes to ask. Be reminded, members. Honorable Minister.
Well, Chairperson, the member is correct. Dealing at the 3.
Honorable Minister.
But
Honorable
as we
Minister.
all know, that
Honorable Minister.
many things change, and we could not have then followed all the programs. Quite many programs changed, including this one. You remember that we could not increase the training of the police. We lost members of the police, people were sick, and then the whole policy was converted and directed to the COVID-19. We are continuing with the program, but it cannot be finalized by the end of the month because of the COVID-19 responses. Thanks.
Thank you. Honorable Mpanza, please check your gadget. It's disturbing us. Mpumza, sorry. Mpumza, please. Please mute. The next follow-up question will come from the Honorable Jumat Peterson.
Thank you very much, Honorable House Chair. Honorable Minister, the National Rural Safety Strategy is an excellent plan, but needs to be implemented holistically. How will the Minister ensure that the strategy is not just focused on white farmers only, but that farm workers in general and rural women in particular are also prioritized by the strategy? Thank you.
Mhlonishwa, Kabuqele.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. That point is almost similar with the other question that was aimed. Our working in the farm includes the farm workers, Chair, and the farmers themselves. And by the way, overall, we'll have to put the lot of better working relationships between the farm workers and the farm owners. Of late, we have several reports that there is a bad working relationship that ends up sometimes in the murder and the crime GPH committed either from the farm workers or farm against farm workers. So it will have to include a big portion of better working and mobilization of social relationship in the farm in the farm environment out there. But also, it cannot just be ordinary farm and formal farms and most small holdings only. People that are working the rural land there, they'll have to be included in the strategy to make sure that they are also safe. As we have picked up on the crime state, that there are more people that are murdered and robbed as they're working the ordinary land outside the ordinary, outside the formal farm setup. Thanks.
Thank you. Deputy Speaker. Deputy Speaker. Deputy Speaker. Akudecided nina bakithi. Akudecided nina. The Deputy Speaker, is it here? Are you there?
Yes, I'm here. What number is that? The next question.
We start.
Thank you, Honorable Chair.
268 as asked by Honorable Mente.
Okay, so okay, go ahead, Honorable Mente. So it's asked of you, the Minister.
Yes. We're just starting with that question. The Honorable Minister of Justice and Correctional Service has to respond to question 268 as asked by Honorable Mente.
Yes.
You will take it from there.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
All right, thanks.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker. The budget was not affected by the recent budget adjustments that relates to corrections and rehabilitation, and provides us with an opportunity to implement personal corrections, development, and well-being programs in discharging our mandate. Our approach and method to rehabilitation and corrections is needs-based, informed, and driven by corrections sentence plans designed to correct individual offending behavior. The newly admitted offenders are subjected to individual needs-based assessment and profiling to compile a correctional sentence plan through information obtained from the offender about the nature of the crimes committed, collaborated with the SAPS 62 form, completed by the detective who investigated the crime that provides the description of the crime and the method, weapons used, victims, and others. This assessment provides the department with an opportunity to design individual and group rehabilitation programs and corrections that take into consideration gender-based violence-related offenses. Specific legal categories of violent crimes such as assault, murder, or sexual offenses inform the design and methods of implementing these programs. The same programs also target the offending behavior and the underlying factors that led to committing the offenses, including gender-based offenses, and those are anger, substance abuse, anxiety, depression, and so on. These programs are based on the following areas of professional specialization: social work rehabilitation programs, spiritual care rehabilitation programs, psychological rehabilitation program. And the content of these programs for social work, they include anger management, sexual offender treatment, substance abuse, youth resilience enhancement, Sisonke family and marriage care, parenting skills. With regard to spiritual care, it offers various moral regeneration programs designed to correct the behavior of rapists and murderers, such as the Peace Education Program, Promo Life Steps, Anger Management, Family Femme Foundation, individual pastoral interviews, and counseling. These programs equip the offenders with skills to interact with other people in peaceful and non-violent manner. The psychological services, they include the following: relapse prevention, mental health awareness campaigns, substance abuse, brain and addiction, support groups, self-harm behaviors, dialectical behavioral therapy, bonding behind bars, anger management, anxiety and depression, coping skills, trauma debriefing, social skills training, bullying, ADHD, violence and aggressive behavior, psychoeducation, suicide prevention, career counseling. It is critical to note that factors that may lead to gender-based violence vary from individual to individual. However, when an offender participates in a psychological interventions, in-depth assessments and behavioral profiling will have identified the best suited intervention to target the offending behavior and reduce the likelihood of recidivism. The above-mentioned psychological programs, by their nature, have a direct reciprocal relation and impact on addressing gender-based violence amongst the offenders. I thank you, Deputy Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Mente.
Deputy Speaker, I will be taking the question on behalf of Honorable Mente, if you allow.
Okay, go ahead, Honorable Member.
Okay, thank you. Minister, there's a growing evidence that perpetrators of these violent crimes against women are repeat offenders. It is most serious for those who are abusive to their domestic partners. They do this all the time, and there are doubts if they are not ever candidates for rehabilitation. In cases where it has been established that people cannot be rehabilitated anymore, would you consider legislative amendments to increase the minimum sentence and refuse parole to such individuals?
Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker. The number of reoffending behavior has been shown that it is among those that have been in our facilities for a short period of time. And it is this that has led to us reintroducing a program to reevaluate some of the rehabilitation programs, but also to look at non-custodial sentencing for short-term offenders, because that is where the highest number of recidivism is. And it is this space that needs attention of the entire legislative program in terms of our penal system, from the date of sentencing to within our centers, to look into that program. And with regard to long-term sentences, I've already mentioned the programs that have helped to reduce in terms of recidivism amongst those that have been sentenced for a long time. And as we speak, Honorable Deputy Speaker, we are also in a program that is looking at the entire parole system that is being reviewed. That will also be coupled with the amendment or the review of the Correctional Services Act. Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker.
Thank you very much. The next supplementary question. Please follow through, member. My guide here is a bit out of order. Just get me the next supplementary person to ask the question.
Honorable Mufokeng will ask the next supplementary question, and I will ask the table staff to send you a summarized document of members who are supposed to ask a supplementary question. They just brought it now.
Yeah, a summarized version, yeah.
They just brought it now.
Okay, I'll appreciate that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Honorable,
please let them send it.
Honorable Mufokeng is the next. Let me just give them to you so that you, as they send it, you continue with these ones. It's Honorable Mufokeng.
Yes.
Will be followed by Honorable Breitenbach and followed by Honorable F.J. Mulder.
Mulder, okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Honorable Mufokeng, please ask your question.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. As the Minister alluded, the department follows a needs-based approach to rehabilitation as per the White Paper of Corrections. Needs-based interventions specifically targets causal factors with a unique profile of the offender. The White Paper recommended that the department develop an individualized correctional sentence plan, CSP, that will take the correctional setting of the individual into account. Is this CSP being implemented in all correctional centers on all inmates? If so, is the CSP yielding the desired outcome? Thank you, Deputy Speaker.
Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker. The correctional sentence plan, known as CSP, is part of the assessment process as stipulated in the Offender Rehabilitation Path Strategy adopted by the department after the adoption of the White Paper on Corrections in 2005. The first few years after the 2005 saw the development and piloting of the correctional sentence plan and was phased in between 2007 and 2009, as the Correctional Services Act requires that newly admitted offenders who are serving a sentence longer than 24 months to have a CSP. Since 2012, rigorous training has been extended to custodial officials appointed as correctional assessment officials on an interim basis to implement the CSP. The CSP is developed within 21 days of incarceration and it is implemented in all correctional centers. The CSP clearly recommends the type of interventions or rehabilitation programs required based on the crime committed and specific needs of the offender identified during assessment. To monitor the implementation, CSP is measured through an annual performance plan, indicator on offender serving sentences of 24 months and above. DCS have managed to achieve 99.9% on this indicator. Professionals will include social workers and psychologists to implement the CSPS. And positive results have been achieved in this regard as offenders' parole placement and releases are based on the full implementation of the CSP. Thank you, Deputy.
Thank you. Thank you. Honorable Breitenbach.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Mr. Minister, only around 5% of the total DCS budget is spent on rehabilitation. This inadequate amount has a negative impact on rehabilitation and is compounded by the mantra of DCS that every official is a rehabilitation official. This is used to hide the fact that the number of properly qualified rehabilitation officials employed by DCS is never going to be able to effectively implement rehabilitation programs. What are you, Mr. Minister, going to do to ensure that real rehabilitation is made possible in DCS? Thank you.
Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. As I have said before, we are looking at the program and assessing them whether they are responding to the programs of rehabilitation that are aimed at the offenders. And the outcome of that assessment will then be able to indicate to us whether we need to change the current structure or not in terms of what we are dealing with. But as things stand, we are also filling the vacancies in that space of in the rehabilitation programs and corrections that will enable us to deliver on the intended objective, including to maximally use the expertise and professionals that we have in the space. Thank you, Deputy Speaker.
Thank you very much. Honourable Mulder.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Speaker. My question to the Honourable Minister, follow-up question. Should the Department of Justice and Correctional Services not, rather in addition to the existing programs, interact with other relevant departments like the Department of Social Development and the Department of Education, for instance, to implement awareness and educational programs in an attempt to prevent rape and murder of women, and thus reducing the need for rehabilitation and correction of such behavior? Thank you, Deputy Speaker.
Thank you. Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. The department is already interacting with the Department of Social Development and the Basic Education. And some of the programs in our facilities are run by both departments. Social Development and our school program, basic one, is run by the Department of Basic Education. And from time to time, there is linkage with regard to some of the offenders playing a role in communities in some of the schools to educate the kids who are at school in terms of the dangers of committing crime and also them playing their role in terms of issues related to gender-based violence through a program called Under the Tree, which also integrate offenders and members from the community. So it does play that kind of a role. And some of those programs are also engaged through the Department of Social Development. But we can look further to expand the program with resources permitting so that it has a maximum impact, particularly in the schools in our various countries, which if offenders could play more role in that type of engagement. It has proven to be very impactful and could be beneficial to society. Thank you, Deputy Speaker.
Thank you very much. Honourable House Chairperson, I haven't received the guide you suggested I will get of a summarized version of the names. The next question is question number 60.
The next question is question 301.
Asked by Honorable Mola to the Minister of International Relations. Can I have a list of the people there following 301? I'll get it.
It's Honorable, the first.
Honorable Minister, in the meantime.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker and honourable members. Well, the reply to the question is that since the advent of the COVID-19 pandemic on the continent, President Ramaphosa and the government have played a very important role in providing leadership and support to the African continent. The president has been doing this as president of South Africa, but also in his capacity as chairperson of the Bureau of the Assembly of the African Union. He has led a number of proactive actions. Among them are the endorsement of the continental strategy to address the COVID-19 pandemic, as it was felt we needed a coherent African response, supporting each other in responding to this disease and its impact. The second was the creation of the AU COVID-19 Response Fund to allow countries that might not have the resource ability to immediately respond to have a fund that they could draw on in order to provide assistance for critical needs in response to the disease. Thirdly, the appointment of special envoys to mobilize rapid and concrete commitments from the countries of the G20, the European Union, multilateral finance institutions, the G7, and other partners. A consultation with chairs of the regional economic communities of Africa in order to ensure that that coordination is strengthened and exists in reality. Then most important, I believe, was the creation of the African Medical Supplies Platform as an African-owned and innovative way of pooling medical supplies and other related material and making them available through this web-based platform in order for countries to be able to order at very reasonable cost resources and equipment that they need to combat the pandemic. We've also had engagements led by the chair of the AU with the Business Leaders Forum to solicit funding to enhance the African COVID-19 Response Fund. And finally, South Africa has led in ongoing consultations with the international community, including the multilateral organizations I've referred to, the UN, the World Health Organization, and of course, the African, Pacific, and Caribbean countries. So we've had a range of responses led by South Africa, all intended to enhance our continent's ability to respond to the pandemic. Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker.
Minister, Honorable Mola.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker. Let me equally welcome the comprehensive report from the Minister. The follow-up to that, Deputy Speaker, would be, Honorable Minister, it is common cause that the devastating social, political, and economic impact of the COVID-19 is still going to persistently live among the African people for quite some time. Therefore, how is the African Union planning to coordinate and foster cooperation for Africa's economic growth to mitigate against poverty and unemployment, which will worsen COVID-19 condition in our continent? Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker.
Thank you. Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much again, Deputy Speaker, and thank you to the Honorable Mola for the follow-up. What we are doing is to ensure that the special envoys appointed by President Ramaphosa engage with the international finance institutions in order to secure funding for African countries for our post-COVID economic recovery strategies. We've also been able, through the special envoys and the leadership of President Ramaphosa, been able to secure relief in terms of debt deferral for countries to ensure that they can utilize funds that would normally go toward debt payments, toward investing in their economic recovery, but also in the health systems of their countries, so that better services are provided to those who are impacted by the pandemic. Finally, the establishment and opening of the office of the Secretary General of the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement, which occurred on the 18th of August, is an important step forward in providing a capacity that will allow Africa to respond and act on some of the inadequacies that emerged in the context of the pandemic. So, for example, localization is a very important part of what must be done with respect to production of health and other equipment. And it will be the Free Trade Area Office that plays a role in ensuring African responsiveness to production of its own quality goods that are available to the wider African market. The final point must be that what Africa has done is to strengthen the African Centers for Disease Control in order to ensure that we have better support through health research and innovation. And it is African resources that have gone toward building that capacity. So I believe with the steps that have been put in place, we have built a basis for a stronger future foundation for the African continent. Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker.
Thank you, Minister. Let's have the next supplementary question, and it comes from Honorable Mishwe.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker, and thank you, Honorable Minister, for your reply. In sub-Saharan Africa, over 70% of workers are self-employed, and the majority of them operate in the informal sector. Because of lockdowns that are imposed to mitigate the spread of COVID-19, what strategies has the chair of the African Union developed to ensure that the economies of these countries whose income depend on the 70% of informal workers or workers in the informal sector? What are we doing to ensure that those economies do not collapse?
Thank you. Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much again, Deputy Speaker, and thank you to the Honorable Mishwe. Honorable Mishwe, one of the things that has become very evident in the course of this pandemic and as a facet of the steps that governments had to take is that it is very clear that we can no longer refer to self-employment, micro and small industries as informal sectors. They are too important for the survival of African economies. And that's what we need to do, is develop mechanisms that will provide resources to the sector and ensure that increasingly we recognize these self-employed individuals as part of our economies. And this has been a very, very evident part of the discussions that we are having about the post-recovery phase. And what we've all agreed is that we need to develop especially financing mechanisms that would allow these businesses to move from the margins toward the center of African economies through appropriate infrastructure, appropriate financing institutions, and robust and consistent support, which does recognize the role they play in African economies. So in devising measures of support, most African countries have indeed given attention to this particular sector of the economic activity of our countries. But it's been recognized that we've in fact been marginalizing this sector, and we need to do much more about acknowledging its importance to millions of Africans on the continent. So I believe there's going to be far more robust attention to this category of business actors in Africa. Thank you again, Deputy Speaker.
Thank you, Minister. The third supplementary question is asked by Honorable T.P. Msani. Yes, go ahead, Honorable Member.
Thank you, Speaker. The biggest highlight that stands out is the increase in debt and the halt of the implementation of the African Continental Free Trade Agreement. The African Union has received loans with billions of US dollars from the IMF and the World Bank for COVID-19. The halt of the African Continental Free Trade has stopped an estimated 1% global trade increase in Africa, which could have generated $70 billion US as additional income for the continent for the year. What steps is the AU going to take to make sure that these loans do not put the sovereignty of the African countries at risk, which will impact the goal of the United Africa post-COVID-19? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker, and thank you to the Honourable Sani. I think she's asked a very important question. One of the interventions that President Ramaphosa has led is the argument to several of the lenders that what should be done is not debt deferral, so payment deferral, but rather debt relief and debt forgiveness. And several countries, including China, have agreed to this, particularly for the poorest of African nations. So we've already had some progress there. What we are now looking at is what form of benefit could we draw on from countries that have announced fairly significant recovery packages and which may very well do this as part of a trade export relationship with the African continent. So discussions are underway to really look at what advantage might accrue to the African continent as countries make recovery resources available to reopen their economies and to strengthen trade relations between countries. Certainly, there has been an impact in terms of the program that we had agreed with respect to the Free Trade Area Agreement. But work has gone on. The Secretary General, Mr. Mene, has been extremely busy, and we continue to look to opportunities for Africa and to draw on those for countries in our continent to ensure that we are not left far behind. We also are working with continental and regional bodies such as the European Union to look at new grant support for countries on the African continent. And the discussions are at a very positive level that we hope will be concluded before the end of this year. So we do recognize the danger, but it's been agreed that all countries will need an opportunity where they invest in their local economy, local development, in order to allow them to get back to a pace where they can begin repaying the outstanding loans. This is why, for example, we have said to special envoys that the agreement of a 6-month debt deferral period is far too short. We want at least 2 years, and we continue to engage other countries on this matter. Thank you very much, Speaker.
Thank you. Please switch off your music. We would like to listen to jazz too, but not now. Just switch it off, whoever it is. Yeah. All right. I think the last is, let me just see this, I'll tell you just now. The last supplementary question will be asked by Honorable MGE Hendricks of Ujamaa.
Thank you.
Honorable Hendricks.
Honorable Deputy Speaker, greetings to the Honorable Minister. Honorable Deputy Speaker, we need more projects to support the orders of the founding fathers of Africa, that African countries working together rather than on their own will make all those living in Africa strong and address challenges. The African Procurement Portal to win the war against the COVID pandemic launched by President Ramaphosa must be supported to show that the United States of Africa is not a pipe dream. Are there any more projects such projects in the pipeline? How can we in South Africa access the African Medical Supplies Platform? And should we not buy PPE from this platform directly instead of giving it out to tender? Al-Jamal welcomes the marketing campaign Made in Africa. And what is the Minister's Department doing to promote this, to show support for President Ramaphosa and the Bureau of the Assembly of the African Union? Also, will funding, Minister, help reduce the prices, making PPE prices more competitive, and the vaccines which we will need? Thank you very much, Honourable Deputy Speaker.
Thank you. Honourable Minister.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker, and thank you to the Honourable Hendricks for the question. I think one of the things I should have begun with is to thank all those countries that have provided support and donations to South Africa and to the African continent broadly in response to this COVID-19 emergency. The African COVID-19 Health Supplies Portal has been a very important African development. The design of the portal is African-led. The securing of the goods, the equipment, and all the necessities to combat the disease has been a led process, led by an envoy appointed by President Ramaphosa. All African countries have been encouraged, both by the AU chairperson, myself, and heads of state within the Bureau, as well as the leaders of the regional economic communities, that this is a portal all of us should use. In a sense, it's almost like crowd supply provision to the portal. The price levels are extremely reasonable, and the quantities that have been provided are of a nature that supplies all the needs that our countries might have to respond to this pandemic. So it is a very, very important initiative, and it just suggests how we should develop a future common African market. It is a model for the future, and it's something that we believe will certainly be of great assistance. Certainly, the funding that is to be received by Africa and is being received is assisting with economic recovery. But most important and critical is, of course, the health response. So in our engagements on the continent, we've consistently stated that the focus must be the African human being, to ensure that we save our people, we reduce the impact of this pandemic, and we strengthen the public health systems in order to support governments to respond. So while looking to all aspects of manufacturing, industrialization, and other economic sectors, we keenly look to the health response as being the most critical, and that has been our focus for the moment. Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker.
Thank you, Minister. The next question is 303, asked by Honorable Wilma Nivodragen to the Minister of Correctional Services. Honorable Minister. Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Chairperson. I was just struggling
to reconnect. It's okay.
Yeah. The list supplied by DSS contains the names of 23 persons, although the number of cases in which they are involved amounts to 14 cases. Some accused appear in some of the same cases. However, there are no remand detainees that have been incarcerated for up to 7 years without trial. Apart from 2 cases relating to fraud, the other cases all contain serious charges of murder, rape, robbery, with aggravating circumstances and attempted murder. All the cases are partly heard for the past number of years, with delays caused mostly by either the remand detainees or co-accused. A number of the cases are postponed for argument, judgment, or sentencing. It is noteworthy to see that in most instances, the cases involve several accused, and some of the accused elected at some stage during the trial to obtain new legal representatives, where the trial records had to be transcribed, resulting in several postponements as new representative requires time for preparations. Once the trial has started, the decisions to grant or allow postponements are the prerogative of the presiding officer, and the prosecution is merely one of the parties to the proceedings, and it cannot regulate or control the proceedings. This is the responsibility also of the presiding officer. So these are the challenges that have been encountered by them in terms of the list that we have in relation to awaiting trial detainees. Thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker.
Thank you, Minister. Honorable Vilma.
Deputy Speaker.
Yes, there will be an interpreter.
Okay. But she's continuing.
Interpreter was not connected. Voice was not connected.
But you.
The interpreter is now connected. May Honourable Wilmer start again?
Oh, okay. I thought she was connected.
Thank you very much, Honourable Deputy Speaker and Honourable Minister. Thank you for your response. How can systems within the entire justice value chain, how can they be strengthened and modernized so as to function in a coherent manner in order to ensure that the remand detainees are not denied justice by unnecessary delays? Thank you.
Thank you. Honourable Minister.
Thank you very much, Honourable Deputy Speaker. The Department of Correctional Services and Justice perspective of an effective integrated justice system is underway to address the South African approach to modernization of the entire justice value chain system. This will assist in reducing data capturing and will improve the quality of information shared within the entire criminal justice system value chain. For such system to function optimally, the whole architecture should be improved, including servers, bandwidth, fiber, in order to ensure that the IT system are not slow in their functioning due to outdated platforms. This will assist to address matters regarding remand detainees incarcerated with an option of bail for longer than a week, and those with bail less than 1,000 rand, and remand detainees for longer than 2 years. In developing the integrated justice system, departments are responsible for ensuring that their core business system or other subordinate systems are developed in such a way that they can use the platform developed by IJS to allow for sharing of information. Currently, the implementation of the audio-visual remand at the correctional facilities is implemented as part of the improvement on the delays. Thank you, Deputy Speaker.
Thank you very much. The next supplementary question is asked by Honorable Horn. Honorable Horn.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Deputy Speaker, the problem of remand detainees being incarcerated for long periods without their trials concluding is going to become exponentially bigger due to the debilitating effect of COVID-19 on the functionality of specifically our criminal courts. We've been assured that the Minister and the Department has a plan to effectively deal with the ever-growing criminal case backlogs in order to, amongst other things, address the plight of remand detainees who are incarcerated for long periods at a huge cost to the taxpayer without their cases being concluded. Would the Minister care to take this House and the country into his confidence and share the details of his backlog turnaround plan in respect of case backlogs? Thank you, Deputy Speaker.
Thank you. Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Indeed, there is an ongoing engagement between all the relevant stakeholders with regards to the court backlog and the role. The stakeholders, which includes the NPA, the judiciary, and the Department of Justice and Correctional Services, and the South African Police Service, to ensure to look into the court role in terms of the backlog, but also to ensure that the courts continue to function under these current circumstances and conditions. We have, through the directives, ensured that at the minimal level, the courts are able to function during that period of disaster up to now. We will review the current directives, which will give more flexibility and optimal functioning of the courts and opening up more, and also address the issue that relates to the backlog, which is currently in the system. At the core of that will be the integration of the use of technology to enable some of the courts to function optimally, as I've stated, regards to bandwidth, to connectivity in relation to the various parts of our courts across the country, but also where there may be a necessity to review the Criminal Procedure Act to enable some of the trials to be done in that in those kind of platforms where there could be hiccups. So there is indeed engagements and a strategy that is being consulted upon with the relevant stakeholders, and soon will be announced to the public upon conclusion of the discussions. Thank you, Deputy Speaker.
Thank you very much, Minister. Let's go to the third supplementary question. It's asked by Honourable Ndlozi. Honourable Ndlozi.
Thank you, Chair. Taken by the Honourable Ntlangweni.
Okay, go ahead.
Most of those, Minister, incarcerated and awaiting trial for a long period of time are Black people with no access to legal representation, and were faced in different magistrates who have no qualms postponing their matters indefinitely while they remain in jail. The quality of our legal aid provided by the state have been below par for a very long time, leading this to great injustice to many remand detainees. What are you doing to improve the quality of legal representation provided by the legal aid? And are you planning to sanction magistrates who keep matters on the roll for more than 2 years while those charged are remanded in custody? I thank you.
Thank you. Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Speaker. I can state with confidence that the services provided by the legal aid is not below par. The legal aid is the biggest law firm in the country. It has been verified by independent research and survey that is the preferred law firm of choice by the accused in our various courts across the country, because of the quality of service that they provide and the Batupilu principles that they adhere to. It has also been one of the most transformed in terms of technology, where the accused can be able to access their legal representatives through various online platforms like WhatsApp, and various innovative ways of communication with the legal aid platform. And this has proven over decades to be very effective for the people of this country and society as a whole. So there's no reason whatsoever for any accused not to have legal representation, particularly if they qualify and they can be able to meet the means test. The legal aid legal representatives are at the service of the people of this country. With regards to the issues that may end up going beyond 2 years, as I have stated, there are various variables and reasons that lead to cases staying for more than 2 years on the roll. And most of them, as I have stated, are caused by the accused themselves being not available, sick leave, changing of legal representatives, but also by the co-accused in some of the cases where not only one accused is involved. Those also causes the delays in some of the matters. Thank you, Deputy Speaker.
Thank you, sir. The last supplementary question is asked by Honorable Tring. Honorable Tring.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Minister, it has been estimated that up to 1/3 of the country's total prison population is made up of remand detainees, people who have been arrested, refused or cannot afford bail, with some spending years waiting for the start or completion of their trial. Like our African Christian brothers and sisters murdered by Islamic militants Boko Haram in Nigeria and by ISIS in Mozambique, remand detainees appear to be a forgotten group. Section 49G of the Correctional Services Act was an attempt to reduce the number of people spending excessive periods of time in remand detention, but this has not sufficiently happened. Why have the constitutional rights of remand detainees been denied? And Minister, what is being done to remedy this? I thank you.
Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker. Various programs have been put in place to respond to the challenges of remand detainees, and such programs include, during this period of lockdown, where the party heard matters were put in terms of the directives to be some of the matters that could be finalized. Such matters also include the issue of remand detainees who have got bails of less than 5,000 rand. The heads of centers have been applying to our various courts to allow them to be released on bail where the interest of justice do permit. There have also been processes with regards to the audio-visual link, as I spoke earlier about, where it could be used for bail and also maybe for plea, and that was enabling to conclude or to allow them to be released if the interest of justice do allow, or for them to conclude some of the matters. So there are various programs, Honorable Deputy Speaker, aimed to address the issue of remand detainees. And I think in future as society we may also need to engage on this issue so that we may have to conclude or come to a situation where there should be at least arrest upon conclusion of investigations. But the pressure that sometimes comes with communities and with the interest of justice sometimes dictate that before the conclusion of investigations and accused end up in our facilities, and it also prolongs the processes. But as I said earlier, the integration of the whole system from the SAPS, the prosecutors and the judiciary will enable us to address this challenge of remand detention, for us not to have a huge number that end up being in our facilities. Thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker.
Thank you, Minister. We now move to the next question, 309, that has been asked by Honorable Peacock to the Minister of Police. And I have been informed the Minister will be answering questions. Minister, please go ahead.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker. Yes, domestic violence registers are in use at all the police stations. quarterly reports in respect of the domestic violence registers are submitted to the South African Police Service Head Office by the Provincial Commissioners for analysis, monitoring, and evaluation. The benefits resulting from the monitoring of the domestic violence registers are as follows. The number of incidents and cases reported per month gives an indication of the prevalence of the domestic violence within a police station precinct. The domestic violence register also provides insight into the nature of the assistance provided. Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honorable Kele. Awazi ukukhala ukuthi siyakufukuzisa uvumile ukuthi uzophendula.
Okay.
Asicele Honorable Peacock.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. My follow-up question to the Minister would be, what is the role of the Civilian Secretariat for Police in monitoring the compliance to DVA register? The second question would be, there are notoriously a lack of compliance on completing the registers. Has the Minister investigated the root cause for this, and does it really comply?
Honorable Minister.
Well, on the first one, the job of the Secretariat is to assist the Minister of Police to run the policing in a proper way, especially when it comes to the policing matters at police station level. For instance, either them sent there or voluntarily go there if they get that there is an issue to go examine and bring report back to the Minister of Police, and the same report will be given to the police management so that the police management can deal with those matters raised by the Secretariat. Yes, we do meet now and again with the Secretariat to look on the matters, not just only the register at the station, but the complaint themselves, including the compliance the member has spoken about. When it comes to this register, I fully agree with the member that not all police stations where you find that the compliance is to the maximum. It is on that score that the head of the detective services is trying to put the special people specifically dealing with these matters of accepting and receiving the complaint of the gender-based violence at the station, so that people, they get trained, they can understand the matter, and then they keep the records and the compliance is supposed to be. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister. The next supplementary question is asked by Honorable Talblanche. Honorable Talblanche.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Honorable Minister. Oversight visits to police stations, as well as complaints by complainants, reveal that the registers are often not properly kept. You already sort of agree to that. Now, Minister, this failure then obviously causes a skewed picture on cluster, provincial and national level. Wrong information, Minister, inevitably leads to wrong management responses. How do you intend to ensure that correct information is recorded in future? And what are you going to do to rectify the police's misguided responses to date? Thank you, Deputy Speaker.
Honorable Minister.
Indeed, Honorable Deputy Speaker, the Honorable Member would be correct that on some of our police stations, we've got 1,153 police stations in the Republic of South Africa. And most police stations will do their work very well and diligently. There will be few of them that they are not doing the work properly. And indeed, if that register is not kept well, is not done properly, the issue will be, the information will be wrong, which might give them the wrong response to the matters. It is on that score that I have said that the head of detective, we are working hard to say people working on these matters must be dedicated, be specific on the matters, be trained, and be found all the time, so that the information that is there is a correct information that will lead to the proper response. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Thank you, Honourable Minister. The third supplementary question is asked by Honourable Mende, who's taking her place. It appears she's not here. Go ahead, Honourable Member.
Thank you very much. Minister, there are many cases of repeat domestic violence perpetrators in society who find their way back to society soon after cases have been laid against them. Most of these people are given police bail and are released before they even appear in court. What are you doing as a minister, as an active minister, to ensure that police are better equipped to deal with gender-based violence and put an end to the increase of number of people given police bail before they even appear in court? Thank you.
Thank you. Honourable Minister.
Honourable Deputy Speaker, I would really love to get the list of those people that get bail from the police, which is supposed to be J538, if I'm not mistaken. Those bails by the police must be on a petty kind of crime. Definitely, this can't be a petty kind of crime, the GBVF. It's a very serious crime. It's topical crime in South Africa. So if there is such, a police cannot be allowed to do that. That case must be investigated and must go to court, and it only should be prosecution and the magistrate that give the bail. So I would request the honourable member, maybe through her to Ms. Mente, who have asked the question, to get the list of those, and I really want to follow up that one, because it cannot be that such offences can be taken light as that way. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Honourable Minister. The last supplementary question is asked by Honourable Sheikh Imam.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Minister, as you are aware that a large percentage of domestic violence matters brought forward are committed by intimate partners or victims known to the perpetrators. Now, in terms of the registers that you have at these stations, could you tell us what percentage of these cases are withdrawn by the victims themselves or withdrawn by the courts as a result of a lack of cooperation by the victims themselves? And very importantly, Minister, as you've agreed that a great percentage of the police stations are producing satisfactory results, but there are those that are not, particularly the gender-based violence matters in the Western Cape, Minister. There appears to be a lack of commitment. We have many, many cases of people complaining about the response from the unit, the FCS unit, in dealing with these matters in the Western Cape particularly.
Honourable Minister.
No, thank you very much, Honourable Deputy Speaker. The matter of Western Cape has been raised, and it has been discussed with the new commissioner there. We have a Commissioner General Matagata who's looking at the matter. We believe that we will really improve on the Western Cape complaints. There are others, but Western Cape, for some reason, is really serious. The percentage per se, Deputy Speaker, I wouldn't work how many those that are withdrawn by the victims themselves. Not just them, but it's quite a sizable number, Honourable Deputy Speaker. It's quite a sizable number that victims, they withdraw, but also they are forced by their families to withdraw, and if not, their families disown the perpetrators and they disown the victims, and they support perpetrators, because it's a family issue. You are bringing embarrassment. The family will be embarrassed if you open the case against the uncle, against the brother, and all that. Maybe one will have to really work on those figures, but it's quite a sizable number of those cases that are withdrawn by victims, pressured by friends and families. Thanks.
Yes. Thank you very much. The next question is question 313 that has been asked by Honorable Marais to the Minister of Defense and Military Veterans. Honorable Minister.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Chairperson and honorable members. Thank you for the question. The matter relates to an incident which occurred in Alexander. Chairperson, on the 21st of May 2020, following the ruling of the North Gauteng High Court, the Chief of the South African National Defence Force, General Shoke, put 4 members on leave on instruction on full pay, on instruction, of course, of the courts, on full pay, pending the finalization of the SAP's investigation into the incident that led to the death of Mr. Khosa. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. The Honorable Marais, it's your supplementary, sir.
Thank you very much, Chair. Minister, the 40-year-old Collins Khosa died after he was allegedly assaulted by soldiers. This was obviously a low point in the history of the Defence Force, who must defend and protect our citizens. The Commander-in-Chief, the President, stated in April that he would leave no stone unturned to ensure that justice is served. Needless to say, the Khosa family is still waiting for this. Can the Minister clarify the conflicting messages by her to the Portfolio Committee, thereafter to the media, that of the Defence Force leadership, and her subsequent retraction of her message? This while, the Minister, you have filed a signed affidavit in support of the final report to the specific court. Minister, were you misled, misinformed, or maybe undermined by the Defence leadership? Because inadvertently, at the time, you conveyed an incorrect and confused message to the Parliament. If so, were any of them held accountable? I thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Marais. If anything, as I was responding to the question, one of the issues I clarified was that, in fact, we had 3 investigations which were running parallel. One of those, the investigation which you initiated on a matter which you sent on SMS on a WhatsApp to the Office of the Military Ombuds. And having done that, I subsequently confirmed in writing and gave the military ombuds the instruction to conduct an investigation. Now, I'm on record in various forums having condemned the incident on the 10th of April that led to Date Khosa, that, of course, during the enforcement of the lockdown, there was never an instruction that there should be abuse of South African citizens. And I did make the point that, of course, once the report comes out, we will make a statement and that there will be consequences. Now, you will be happy to hear that on the 5th of August, I have since received the report of the military ombuds, which contains details of his investigations, his findings, and recommendations. Now, I've stated unequivocally that once the ongoing investigations have been finalized, there will be, as I've said, consequences. One such investigation, which is this one of the military ombuds, has now come out. Remember, the investigation of the military ombuds does not deal with the criminal investigation. The criminal investigation is dealt with by law enforcement agencies. But the military ombuds has a responsibility of investigating the behavior of members of the South African National Defence Force at a particular time, whether the code of conduct was observed, whether the rules of the game were confirmed. Now, the unfortunate thing, and I do want to say unfortunate, but those who are legal will say there's nothing unfortunate about it. The military ombuds, in conducting the investigation, conducted interviews with several witnesses, including the partner of Datekos. He also interviewed people who occupy were tenants at the house, also interviewed neighbors, and unfortunately, the 4 members of the South African National Defence Force who have these allegations hanging over them reserved their right to remain silent, having been advised by a lawyer who was representing them. Now, people will say it's understandable that they would do that because there's a criminal investigation which is currently going on. So maybe due to fear of incriminating themselves, perhaps it was correct not to provide answers to the military ombuds. That still did not did not mean that the ombuds could not make a finding on this case. He has made a finding that in the light of evidence which was obtained from those who agreed to cooperate with the ombuds, that in fact the soldiers, and in entering the Kosa residence for search and seizure of liquor, they did in the absence of the JMPD and the South African Police Service, whom we are supporting, by the way. And therefore that was outside the scope of the South African National Defence Force. And that, of course, from the evidence, it is concluded that in the process of conducting the search for alcohol and various acts of misconduct were committed by, unfortunately, the soldiers. And the ombuds concluded that the official conduct of these members was improper, irregular, and in contravention of the code of conduct, operational order, and rules of engagement. The ombuds therefore recommends that appropriate disciplinary measures should be taken against the commander of the platoon who was on the ground, but also those who were with the commander. So that is where we are. I have since written a letter to the Chief of the South African National Defence Force to give an instruction that he should then comply with the recommendations of the military ombuds. But I've also written a letter to the Office of the Military Ombuds to express a word of appreciation and to commit that we will indeed comply with the recommendations contained in the report. That is where we are for now. And as you would know, Honorable Member, there is still a criminal investigation being conducted. This was purely investigating the administrative processes and whether, in fact, the soldiers conducted themselves properly when they entered the premises of the Kosa family. I thank you, Honorable Leader.
Thank you. The next supplementary question, Honorable Minister, is from Honorable M. Mudise. Honorable Mudise, please do go ahead.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Minister, will the Defence Force consider engaging in a program to build cooperation with the society to create a positive relations between the Defence Force and the society? Thank you.
I'm so
Minister,
sorry, Chairperson. I
you
can't
couldn't hear that, I'm sure.
Yes.
Could she go back to
Sorry,
that
Honorable
podium? Honorable Mudise, please wait a little bit so that the mic is appropriate in front of you so that we can hear. There is also an echo. I don't know where it comes from. If someone can please deal with the mic that might be open.
No, the mic is
please
fine.
close it. So go ahead. Switch the mic on and speak. Honorable Mudise.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. But there is nothing wrong with the mic here in the House. Dear Minister, will the Defence Force consider engaging in a program to build cooperation with the society to create a positive relations between the Defence Force and the society? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Go ahead, Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member. You know, we always talk about civil-military relations. One of the reasons why, when the Defence Act was drafted, a decision was taken to have, in the first instance, a civilian component which will work together with uniformed police, which is led by the Secretary of Defense. It is because we were coming from a history where there was no civilian control of the military. Military could do as it pleases. There was no relationship between the Defence Force of the time together with ordinary citizens and communities. So, as South Africa, as this government, we are very committed to strengthening civil-military relations. We are very committed to engage with our people. That is why, Honorable Mudise, you see that there are programs which we have which take us to communities, to people where they live, particularly in the rural areas. And I must say that I am not saying that is adequate. I believe that the lessons learned from the COVID-19 pandemic, the campaign against this pandemic, it is that we need to heighten our engagement with communities. We need to heighten our political education of our people, to get also with the soldiers, just for people to understand that the responsibility of soldiers is that of defending the Republic, the sovereignty of the Republic of South Africa, and therefore the people of South Africa, that our people, when they see a soldier, they should see one of their own, somebody they can run to for help, and not to actually run away from a soldier due to fear that they may as well be victimized by the soldiers. Soldiers should not be seen as perpetrators of crime, but rather as protectors of vulnerable people in our country. So I do agree, honorable members, that the lessons learned here during this period of COVID talk to us that we need to do more work by way of having soldiers engaging with communities, not only end by building bridges, etc. We need outreach programs which explain what the role of members of the South African National Defence Force is. Thank you very much, Honourable Member, for the question.
The third supplementary question, Honourable Minister, is going to be asked by Honourable Kumani. Honourable Kumani.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker. Minister, members of the SANDF, with your encouragement, are increasingly abusing the rights of the citizens with impunity. Today, you and your department are facing claim of about 120 million from civilian families ousted from the Maryville military base near Niger by the SANDF. The case of murder of Collins Khoza is therefore one of many cases of human rights abuse by the SANDF. What actions are you taking to ensure that SANDF is bound to ensure what actions are you taking to ensure that SANDF is bound by the laws that bind everyone and respect the rights of the citizen? More specifically, when will you stop harassing the people of Maryville near Niger? Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker.
Honourable Member will deal with your remarks afterwards. But Honourable Minister, please answer.
Thank you very much, Honourable Member. I can assure you that the developments around Maryville, which unfortunately has nothing to do with the question at hand, but I will seek to answer that. The developments around Maryville have nothing to do with harassment of people. The developments around Maryville have everything to do with people who have occupied land which was not given to them.
Honourable Mpumlwan, uthatha uthini uMinister ephendula? Go ahead, Minister.
It has everything to do with a very bad culture, which unfortunately we have developed and which unfortunately some of us are encouraging, of occupying land which does not belong to you. It is incorrect, it is wrong to occupy land which has not been given to you. And I'm not suggesting in any way that in the course of removing people from Maryville, no transgressions were committed by the soldiers. But the point is, the land does not belong to the people who are currently in Maryville. And I know that this matter is in court. They are represented by the lawyers for human rights, and I have engaged the lawyers for human rights when it has been necessary for me to do so. When the matter has been brought to my attention, I've had physical contact with them to explain the position of the South African National Defence Force. However, there is this determination and this to continue to occupy land. If you remove people today and people go back to that land, even when we have offered alternative shelter as had been directed by the courts, people still wanted to go back to an area which was not allocated to them. It's not as though, Honourable Chair and Honourable Members, we did not provide alternative accommodation when we were directed by the courts to do so. We did. However, people are so determined and committed to continue with the agenda of moving into areas which do not belong to them. And this is land that belongs to the South African National Defence Force. If there are negotiations that maybe it's time to give the land over for it to be expropriated, that's a different matter. But to just move into an area, and I know, by the way, that the people have been in this land for a long, long time, for years actually. But it does not mean that the South African National Defence Force does not have the right at this point to say, we need this land for exercises, we need this land for many other things. In fact, Chair, we have since now discovered that one of the reasons why people are refusing to leave that area is that somebody told them that there may be minerals on that land. We are still now going to be approaching the Department of Minerals so that they can go and conduct an investigation, a study, just to check whether, send the archaeologists, just to check if in fact there are minerals. People want a situation where they will remain in the area so that tomorrow, if indeed there are minerals in the area, some natural resources, they will then be part of the people who will benefit from that. Thank you, Chair.
The last supplementary question, Minister, is going to be asked by Honorable PJ Groenewald. Honorable Groenewald.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Honorable Minister, in many budget debates, we agreed between us that one of the critical problems of the SANDF is discipline, and you agreed with me. Yes. If we look at this incident with Collins Causa, before that, the chief of the SANDF appeared on national television, and he said, when the SANDF moves in, it is stop and club. He used a very strong word. Now, he set the example, and that is exactly what these soldiers did. They stopped and clubbed Collins Causa. And my follow-up question is, are any steps taken against the chief of the SANDF? If so, what steps? If not, why not? Because as far as I'm concerned, he is complicit to these actions of these soldiers. I thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Honorable Chair, and thank you, Honorable Member Groenewald, for the question. Firstly, let me just set the record straight, which is that the clip which has been played over and over again, where the Chief of the South African National Defence Force made this kind of statement, is an old clip. After the President and the Commander-in-Chief of the Republic of South Africa commanded his forces to move into our communities and protect our people against the pandemic, COVID-19. My understanding, and at least from where I'm sitting, I do not recall that the Chief of the South African National Defence Force repeated that kind of statement. I know for sure that the statement was made some years ago, and I know that the President, when he was addressing the soldiers and commanding them and ordering them to go out and defend South Africans against the pandemic, I know that the President actually made reference to that statement that there shall be no stop and donor. I'm instructing you to go out and protect South African citizens against an invisible enemy called COVID-19. Now, after that statement by the President, I certainly do not recall the Chief of the South African National Defence Force going out publicly and contradicting the Commander-in-Chief. If he has done that, I would imagine that it would be the responsibility of the Commander-in-Chief to engage with the Chief of the South African National Defence Force. But I know that the statement was made long before the statement which was made by the Commander-in-Chief, in a sense, rebuking us for having made that kind of statement. Thank you, Honourable Member.
Thank you. Honourable, the next question is question 326, asked by Honourable Ter Blanche to the Minister of Police. Minister?
Deputy Speaker? Deputy Speaker?
Yes, ma'am.
The next question is question...
I'm listening.
Is question number 269.
269.
Yes. Asked
Okay. Okay, let me ask by...
Asked by Honorable Ndlozi to the Minister of Justice and Correctional Service.
Who in the EFF is taking over from Honorable Ndlozi?
It's Mkhalipi.
Go ahead, Honorable Mkhalipi.
No.
The Minister.
Honorable...
Sorry?
Honorable Deputy
the
Speaker.
Minister first. Minister first.
Yes.
Ibana.
Go ahead, Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker.
They think I'm giving them your job, and I wasn't.
Don't worry, soon you will take it over. You must relax.
No, you must win elections first.
Take it over.
Yeah.
You must win elections first. In October 2019, His Excellency President Cyril Ramaphosa announced 1.6 billion that government had reprioritized from the existing budget allocations to implement the Gender-Based Violence and Femicide Emergency Response Action Plan.
Hello.
From 1 November 2019 to 31 March 2020. However, our Chapter 9 institutions, i.e. the Public Protector, the South African Human Rights Commission, and entities, the Special Investigation Unit, and the Legal Aid South Africa, were not among the lead stakeholders tasked for the implementation of the GBVF ERP. Henceforth, no budget reprioritization was done by them. Thank you, Deputy Speaker.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker. While you're on the phone, can I go on, Chair Moroto?
Go ahead, Honorable Mkhalipi.
Go on, Honorable Mkhalipi. Thank you, TG. Minister, thanks for the reply and confirming the role of the Chapter 9 institutions. In your experience as a minister thus far, please confirm are you of the view that government departments gives Chapter 9 institutions the respect they deserve? If so, as we have already said so, why do you think the report of institutions such as Commission for Gender Equality are basically ignored? I'm talking about the report. The Commission for Gender Equality released a report on forced sterilization on women who were HIV positive in February 2020. So would you, in your capacity as a minister, ensure at least that there is justice done for the trauma these women went through when the Department of Health forced them to do the sterilization? I'm talking about the case that is dated back 2015, and some of those women are still suffering from the effect of the coerced, insulted, strip of dignity by the Department of Health. Since there is this report now in Parliament now, so are you going to help these women to get justice that they deserve? Some of them, they don't even sleep at night. They are traumatized because of what was done by them by the Department of Health. As a Minister of Justice, can these women account? Can they get justice from you as a Minister of Justice? Thank you, Babu Ntombela.
Okay.
They'd already muted me. They'd already muted me, but go ahead.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead, Minister. And then Tom Bella will take over.
Thank you, Honorable.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker. I think the follow-up question is not really directly related to the first question, but it relates to what is the work of the Chapter 9 institutions and whether when are the government departments responding to or ignoring or taking into consideration the recommendations of the various Chapter 9 institutions, and I'm asked for my experience. Up to now, I have observed that many government departments do respond to the Chapter 9 institutions, and I have been asked in several occasions, in certain instances, to come in if it is possible when legislations do permit and for them to access information. But the specific question which I think the Department of Health has got better knowledge and understanding of the specific issue that the Honorable Mkalipi is raising. I think it will be better when they are in a better position to respond to this question. And I think, as she has said, the matter is before Parliament, which I believe will be properly considered and be taken forward. Thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Minister.
Chairperson.
Honorable Mkalipi.
Chairperson, is the minister failing to address my question as the Minister of Justice? Because we are looking for the justice for these women. So the question is straightforward to him.
Point of order, Chair of Chairs.
Honorable Chair. Thank you. What is the point of order, Honorable Member?
I wanted to understand that there was a rule.
What is the point of order?
When you have made a follow-up question, does the rule allow you to make a second follow-up question after a response?
I do not think so, Member. Can I respond to Honorable Mkalipi?
Exactly. Why is this guy always so forward?
Can I respond to Honorable Mkalipi? Honorable Mkalipi, I think the minister is better placed to respond to the questions that has been put forward, and he has responded accordingly. The Honorable Mkalipi is not yet with the answer. There are appropriate measures that the Honorable can take so that the question is answered. But for now, I will accept what the minister has said. Can we therefore go to the second supplementary question, which will be asked by the Honorable QR Janchi? Honorable Janchi.
Thank you very much, Chair of House Chair. Mphathiswa Ozilamula, ndivumelana nawe ba lo mbuzo noko awuyanga kule ndawo fanele uya kuyo. I would like you to take this opportunity. Because the issue of your gender-based violence is a very critical issue in the country. Would you like to make a few words and comment on that?
Honorable Mkalipi, Honorable Janchi. Okay, let's hear what Honorable Mkalipi is raising.
I'm on the platform.
Honorable Mkalipi.
Chairperson, the member on the platform, why is addressing my question? Because he's supposed to ask his question, not talking on behalf of the EFF.
Okay, Honorable Mkalipi, okay, I'll take care of that. Can we allow Honorable Janchi to go ahead, please? Honorable Janchi.
Yes, thank you, Honorable Chair. I'm making a follow-up on the question. And therefore, I would like to ask if the minister can just say a few words on the importance of gender-based violence.
Thank you, Honorable Janchi. Honorable the Minister. Honorable the Minister, you are muted.
Oh.
Yebo.
Oh, thank you, Chairperson. Hopefully I'm fine now.
You okay?
Thank you very much, House Chairperson. indeed, gender-based violence is a serious concern to South African society and the whole globe. Hence, the President has directed us to work with the civil society and everyone within the South African society to help resolve this. And to this extent, we have resolved that in the financial year 2020-2021, the department will introduce a special monitoring system to highlight and track violent crimes committed against women. Who do this in line with the Femicide Watch, a database of all femicide cases in the country, in fulfilling the work of capturing and tracking down every femicide case, careful analyzing data to determine trends and profiles of offenders and victims, developing responsive and impact policies, laws, programs, and initiatives, channeling resources for interventions to areas of need, periodically publishing the Femicide Watch to raise awareness on femicide and keep the country's memory alive to the realities of the tragedies as a prevention matter. And in addition, House Chairperson, on legislation, Cabinet approved the introduction into Parliament of the following gender-based violence and femicide bills: the Domestic Violence Amendment Bill, the Criminal and Related Matters Bill, the Criminal Law Sexual Offences and Related Matters Amendment Bill. These bills respond to a number of issues raised during the Presidential Summit against gender-based violence and femicide. This includes providing a victim-centric response in the criminal justice system in respect of sexual offences and tightening of bail conditions for perpetrators of sexual offences. The Criminal Law Amendment Bill also amends the National Register for Sexual Offenders by broadening its scope. And this House will grapple with these bills soon and debate and take them forward. This is a sign that the South African government take this issue very seriously, and hopefully it will engage society.
Thank you very much, Honourable Minister. The third supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable G. Breitenbach.
Thank you very much. Mr. Minister, we have always expressed the view that the approach to gender-based violence lies in a whole society approach. It remains true that specific failures to properly appreciate the seriousness of gender-based violence by different role players in the criminal justice system is part of the problem with the general approach to gender-based violence. What are you going to do to ensure, either through this budget of 19 billion or otherwise, that every official and every judicial officer tasked with dealing with these matters properly appreciates the seriousness thereof and deals with gender-based violence complaints in accordance with the law, rather than as quasi-social workers, mediators, or pastoral caregivers? Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Member. Honourable Minister.
Thank you, House Chairperson. This is part of the issues that relates to gender-based violence and femicide is part of the training for the NPA, for the aspirant prosecutors program, and for the ongoing or lifelong learning within the institution, given its prominence in society. It is also part of the judicial training for both magistrates and the judiciary, the judges themselves. So this is a continuous program for those that are entering, including for a lifelong program, for them to be sensitive and be responsive to the societal issues that are being raised about gender-based violence. And our courts on a day-to-day basis, countrywide, they met out very harsh sentences, which I believe will continue to act as a deterrent. And that also shows that some of the matters they do go through up until a trial stage. And I think we need to work more harder to ensure that matters, they are not mediated upon, as Honourable Breitenbach says. And one of the bills does address the issue that relates to the fact that these matters have to go to trial instead of a process of mediation because of the nature and the seriousness of the offense. Thank you, Honorable House Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. The last supplementary question will be asked by the Honorable C.T. Simang. Honorable Simang. Honorable Simang.
Mahlobo.
Yeah, but Honorable Simang.
It's Mr. Ngwezi here.
Yeah, but Ngwezi.
May I please take the question? It looks like he has a problem. Thank you very much. Honorable Minister, in terms of the strategic plan on GBV and femicide, one of the key interventions relating to the strengthening of the criminal justice system involves gender-based violence service delivery training within the criminal justice system. What progress has been made in this regard, and what are the specifics of this particular training? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable House Chairperson. As I have already said, it is part of the programs that all prosecutors are doing, including their lifelong learning, including the program of aspirant prosecutors as they enter the system. It is also part of the program of judicial training for both magistrates and the judges in their training and also in their lifelong learning. It has been integrated to enable them to understand and appreciate the subject matter, including how it intersects with the criminal justice system and the horror with which society view this kind of a matter. Thank you, House Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. We now go to question number 290, which has been asked by the Honorable T.M. Mutle to the Minister of Defense and Military Veterans. The Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair, and thank you, Honorable Members, for the question. The AMSCO budget did not include any COVID-19 related expenditure. In other words, even with the budget which was allocated specifically for COVID-19 for the SANDF and the Department of Defense as a whole, there was no allocation for AMSCO. Now, the second part of the question talks to sector codes. Sector codes have been in place since 2018, and it is indeed one area where we have not performed satisfactorily, but we are satisfied that at least finally we do have now a defense industry charter, which clearly stipulates which areas to prioritize within the defense industry. Our participation in the COVID-19 related procurement thus offers an opportunity, for instance, to improve participation of all identified beneficiaries in the codes. As such, our procurement strategy puts emphasis to the objectives of the sector codes. But please, let us be clear that that which was allocated for COVID-19 was not, there was no allocation whatsoever for AMSCO. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. And the first supplementary question will be asked by the Honorable Mute.
Thank you, House Chair. And thank you to the Minister for that response. Minister, my follow-up on the question is that on the basis of your response, Is there any reason why AMSCO as an acquisition agency is not playing any role in the procurement of PPE? What is the reason why is AMSCO as an acquisition agency of the BOD not playing any role? Secondly, to what an extent is the transformation charter being implemented? As we know, the objective is to transform the defense industry, which is lily white. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honourable Member. The Honourable Minister.
Thank you very much, Honourable Member. Honourable Member, your question said whether there was what was the budgeted expenditure of AMSCO during the COVID-19 pandemic to date. So there was no allocation for AMSCO. However, when I realized that the Defence Force is likely not to have the capacity to spend the money allocated for COVID-19, we then invited AMSCO to be part of the meetings so that AMSCO can assist the Defence Force to scan the environment and see where else these PPEs could be found, because at the time, colleagues, the focus was on getting everything from China. And when, of course, AMSCO did the scanning of the environment, they came back saying it is possible for the board of AMSCO and the CEO to assist the Defence Force to procure PPEs. So I know that we are at a point now where there is work that is being done between the Department of Defence, the SANDF, and AMSCO, and I know that for now there hasn't been any financial transfers to AMSCO, but AMSCO has been assisting them to identify where to find the PPEs which we require. Thank you very much, Chairperson, with regards to that first question. Then the second question, which relates to the codes. I think for me, Chair, what is important is that finally, this industry, which is not transformed, called the defense industry, finally has agreed to adopt a charter pushing, screaming and kicking, a charter which talks to the different codes which must be prioritized. And of course, these codes are namely the military veterans, women, and the BBBEE. So it is now up to our people, it is up to these sectors that have been mentioned in the defense industry charter to pull their socks up, to make sure that they form formidable companies and that they meet the requirements as stipulated in the tenders which come out from AMSCO, and be on their own and be, what should I say, competitors who are credible so that they can benefit. Of course, one of the instructions I gave to the defense industry as a whole was that they need those who have made it in this sector, those who have been long enough, who are well organized in the sector, should hold the hands of the young players who are coming into the industry and work with them and assist them to be at the level where they can compete in a fair manner. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. And the second supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable SJF Mare.
Thank you very much, Chair. Minister, the budget of AMSCO were adjusted downwards, and they committed themselves to austerity measures to ensure more funding available to fight the COVID-19 pandemic. Can the Minister confirm today, in line with the commitment made by Arms Corps, that not only will there be no salary but that no bonuses will be paid out in respect of the previous and the current financial years? Further, can you commit that no money will be spent again on hunting trips, jazz festivals, or other luxuries and non-essential staff entertainment expenses? I thank you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Member. Thank you, Chair. Chairperson, the austerity measures and because of that, and the decision not to pay bonuses was actually an initiative of Arms Corps management itself. So mine would be to go back and check and just to make sure that there's oversight, to be ascertained through the board that none of the commitments they have made, right, are not flouted. Okay? For now, my understanding is that, and this is what at least they reported to me, is that they had taken a decision that they will not take bonuses, particularly because they have not done very well by way of meeting the acquisition needs of the South African National Defence Force. Now, you are also mentioning that they will not spend money on jazz and hunting, etc. I would imagine that all government departments and all entities of government, including the state entities, that obviously, due to these austerity measures and the challenges we hear from the Minister of Finance every day about the state of our national fiscus, that there would be no board members or even CEO or any manager who will take decisions that will further drain our national fiscus. My view is that these are adults, responsible adults, people who know that there's a shareholder, which is government, and I represent the shareholder, and therefore they have to be accountable, and anyone who transgresses would have to bear with the consequences. So I am of the view that they themselves, having agreed to all of this, that none of that would happen. But of course, human beings are human beings, so we will have to keep a very hawkish eye on them and make sure that there aren't such violations, honourable members. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Minister. IT people, please take care that the chairperson does not get muted. I think that's high treason for the chairperson to be muted during the session. It's tantamount to high treason. The third supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable OMC Mautwe. Honourable Member Mautwe.
Thank you very much, House Chair. Minister, as part of cost-cutting measures across departments in response to the economic impact of the COVID-19 pandemic, the transfer from the Department of Defence to Arms Corps has been decreased by approximately 120 million rand. Impact on the ability of the entity to function. What plans do you have in place to make Arms Corps a self-sufficient arms manufacturing entity that is able to manufacture, market, and maintain its own products? I thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honourable Member. The Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member. Honorable Member, let me start by just clarifying something, which is that AMSCO is not a manufacturing entity. AMSCO is an acquisition agency of the South African National Defence Force. In other words, where there are capabilities we require as the Department of Defence, we then go to AMSCO, and then AMSCO scouts around, and goes around and checks who are the companies who will make these capabilities available to the Defence Force. So yes, indeed, there has been a cutting of budget, there's reprioritization, and this reprioritization, colleagues, is cross-cutting. It's all over in the whole of government. So obviously, AMSCO too will find itself in a situation where they must now deal with what they have and reprioritize. But of course, I am also aware of the fact that AMSCO works with many other entities which are conducting research and development on a whole lot of things for the South African National Defence Force. We do not believe that the mandate of AMSCO will be affected by the budget cuts. But of course, we do believe that their mandate will be affected by the challenges which are encountered by the whole of the defense industry. Because with the budget cuts, with the challenges of our national fiscus in South Africa now, we have a situation, as you read every day, where, for instance, our own state-owned entity called DINEL is in a sense going down. And as DINEL goes down, it goes down with the smaller defense industries who depend on DINEL. And DINEL, of course, depends the main client of DINEL is the Department of Defense. So with all of that, with the challenges of the budget, it impacts negatively on the work of AMSCO. It impacts negatively the fact that DINEL is going down. It impacts negatively on the work of AMSCO as well. It also impacts negatively on the entire defense industry in South Africa. So yes, honorable members, but it's not so much the budget cuts of the defense force. It's more the defense industry in the country, which seems to be going down and going down because of the national fiscus in South Africa.
Thank you, Honorable Minister.
Chair.
Thank you very much.
Chairperson.
Honorable Member.
Yeah, so in short, the minister is saying she's got no plans to transform AMSCO to be a manufacturing entity. I take
Honorable. Okay, we come into the last supplementary question to this question, and it will be asked by the Honorable R.N. Tereku. Honorable Member. Bangwezi.
Cha, umhlonishwa uCebekhulu imibuzo yakhe ibizobuzwa yimina yonke. Kodwa ke ngifisa ukuthi sesivala ngisho ukuthi uminister uphendule kahle umbuzo bengizobuza kulo mbuzo. Ngiyathokoza kakhulu. Sesivala.
Siyabonga Bamngwezi. Thank you, Honorable Ngwezi.
Ngiyabonga, Honorable Member.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable Kalepe.
Mahlobo, why Honorable Ngwezi asikhombisa uwodolophu wakhe ekubeni nge background isanikwa wona bo.
Anguzanga Honorable Kalepe. Shall we continue? Question number 78. Question number 2, honorable members, please.
Mrs. Mkhaliphi, soxoxa noMkhaliphi lo daba lokubona ama-wardrobe wami.
Honorable Ngwezi, Honorable Mkhaliphi.
Okay, I withdraw.
Allow me to continue, please.
Honorable House Chair. Honorable
There are
House
rules,
Chair.
by the way. There are rules, by the way, which apply to situations of this nature. Let's force not. Please don't force us to go that route. Thank you very much. Question number 278.
Honorable House
has been
Chair.
asked by the Honorable L.L. van der Merwe
Honorable House Chair.
to the Minister of Home Affairs.
Honorable House Chair.
Honorable Member.
Honorable House Chair.
Yes.
It's Honorable Janji
Yes,
in the
Honorable
chamber.
Honorable Janji.
The time allocated for question has expired. This is where we get to the end of the questions for today. It has expired. We should not proceed to the next.
Ibisishilo inkatha. Inkathi besithi yasisivala.
Thank you, honorable members.
Thank you, Honorable Janji.
No, we can continue.
The house has adjourned.
Let's continue.
The house has adjourned.
That is just lazy.
Lazy.
Honorable members, thank you. The Honorable Janji has done justice to the session.
No,
Thank you very much.
Nkatheleyo enivaleleni.
Very unfortunate.
Nkatheleyo.
Want an answer, please.
Izigangi lezi.